Silo is surprisingly good. It's not perfect, but it is both an entertaining mystery and a remarkably on-point critique of how the security state works. While I'm not going to do a blow-by-blow plot summary, I do have to talk about some story details in order to make any worthwhile points. So if you want to watch the show first, now is the time to stop this video. So the setup. The silo is an underground habitat, 144 levels down with a central spiral staircase from top to bottom. It houses 10,000 or so people inside, safe from the dead wasteland above. If you're thinking of the vaults from Fallout, you're not too far off. In a lot of ways. We begin with Sheriff Holston doing his morning rounds and narrating some background for us. Through this, we're informed of some curious details about silo life. No one knows who built it, or why, or how long they have to stay in there. We see monitors made to look like windows showing us the outside, a barren, dead wasteland. Having established a mood of mysterious gloom, the sheriff gets to his office, walks into his cell, closes the door, and tosses the keys out into the hallway. He says he wants to go outside, which apparently is something you don't say unless you really mean it. And then it jumps back 2 years and spends the episode mostly getting us back to the beginning with a little bouncing back and forth, because it's that kind of show. When he finally goes out, there's a bit of a discrepancy. The screens in the silo show him puttering around a dusty moonscape with a single dead tree for ambience, while he sees a lush green meadow with birds and frolicking bunnies. Strange things are afoot. From here, the story slowly unravels a ball of questions while giving us a rather on-point allegory of modern government. People are kept in line partly through fear of outside danger, in this case the actual outside, and partly through a security apparatus that spies on them and punishes any dissent. All given the illusion of some kind of due process and noble intention by citing the Pact, essentially their constitution. I'm not saying constitutions are bad things. I'm rather fond of the US example, but constitutions and laws in general are almost always abused to some extent, using the letter to work around the spirit in the best cases, and serving as a deliberate misdirect in the worst. Which one is happening in the silo is kept an open question right up to the end. In the interim, the now-deceased sheriff, whose body is lying outside beside his long-deceased wife, left instructions on who should succeed him. Apparently that's how it works, subject to approval by the mayor and with objections from IT and the judicial departments. The sheriff's pick?
In my final act as sheriff, I, Holston Becker, nominate Juliet Nichols of Mechanical as my successor.
Juliet Nichols?
She's an engineer.
So they have to walk all the way down to the bottom to get her. In typical dystopian allegory fashion, the white-collar jobs like IT and judicial are up near the top of the silo, while those Morlocks that keep the generator running are way down at the bottom and have additional jobs like sorting through the garbage that everyone dumps down on them through a trash shaft. Two things quickly become apparent. The Pact means what judicial wants it to mean on any given day, and every department thinks it's the most important. There's also the thorny issue of the deliberate erasing of the past and the oppressive crackdown on possession of relics of the period and any attempt to learn more about their past or the outside world. Seriously, a dude gets arrested over a Pez dispenser. Juliet agrees to take the job as sheriff, mostly so she can investigate the murder of her secret boyfriend. Romantic relationships have to be state-approved here too. And soon she's also looking into the murders of the mayor and the senior deputy. All the while, judicial is pressuring her to drop it and do the old go-along-to-get-along routine. Through all this, these window monitors display the wasteland outside and the communal spaces. It's a constant reminder that outside is death, with the implication that you'd better do what you're told. But if you want to leave, all you have to do is say so.
Deputy Morris.
Please, Sheriff.
I want to go out.
Of course, this would never be abused by corrupt officials.
I'm sorry, Sheriff Nichols. Did you just say you want to go outside?
No, I didn't.
I distinctly heard you say you want to go outside. Robert, did you hear that?
Sure did.
I'm not going to cover every twist and misdirect of the story because I know someone's going to watch the show after seeing this video and I don't want to ruin everything. But the short version is that the silo has a little CIA, a secret organization that has the entire population under surveillance, criminalizes any show of dissent or even curiosity, and operates outside the pact it claims to be protecting while threatening those in formal positions of power to ensure their compliance. As the story progresses, we see mass surveillance, assassinations, media manipulation, and usurpation of powers by Robert Sims and his secret police, who on paper work for judicial, but in reality are an out-of-control rogue entity operating outside the law and basic human decency. It's not simply a question of a corrupt deep state seeking power for its own sake. We get a sense that Sims really believes that he's working for the greater good, really believes that all hell will break loose if he doesn't keep a tight lid on the populace. This is important. Some tyrants and their minions really are just sadists, psychopaths, or corrupt worms. But some of them are true believers. They have a higher calling, and they think of it as a duty. They have conviction, even in their most absurd denials of obvious truths.
Shut your eyes! All of you! Shut your eyes! Shut your eyes! Turn around! Cover your faces!
And that conviction makes them doubly dangerous. Sims shares this conviction with Bernard, the head of IT and now the interim mayor. Both of them wield immense power in the silo, and both of them gradually appear to be sincere in their motivating belief, even if they are frequently devious, self-righteous bastards about it. The real government of the silo is an unholy fusion between big tech and the Stasi. But these two are not in complete lockstep. There's a moment, right at the end of the season, after Juliet has been sent outside. She too sees the lush green landscape, which the show does a great job suggesting is the real outside. But she discovers that it's an illusion. I'm guessing a VR display inside her helmet, though that doesn't quite work. It's kind of weird. It's here that the crack in the governing partnership shows.
She knows. Knows what?
A second season has been ordered, but due to the actors and writers strike, nothing is happening with that at the moment. But the show is based on a series of short books that give us some idea where it's probably going, and if it's any guide, it means that Sims and Bernard are not just power-hungry monsters. They have legitimate fears of what will happen if people rebel. They really believe that the lives of everyone in the silo are at stake, and they very well may be right. But like true believing tyrants throughout history, they don't trust the people to make sensible decisions based on facts. They rely on censorship and cover stories, on erasing anyone that threatens their big lie, unable to grasp that the fear and distrust they create makes the rebellion they fear inevitable. Silo handles these themes quite well and tells a timely and relevant story about surveillance, abuse of power, environmental degradation, and how it can be used for nefarious political purposes, and the fragility of social order. I'm a little surprised Apple made this show. That said, it's not perfect. There's some lingering what the hell regarding the simulated environment. What exactly is the purpose of it within the world of the story? The show suggests that it was designed to awe people sent outside, motivating them to clean the external camera so the people inside can see what's really out there.
They have to see.
Maybe if enough fumes are leaking into the suit to make them loopy, it'd work, but I can't imagine anyone getting out there and thinking the landscape looked like the Capitol wasteland because the lens was dirty. Whatever the case, we end with Juliet wandering into a barren field full of other silos like the one she left. Isolated communities stacked beside each other but cut off for reasons we're no closer to knowing than we were at the start. All we really do know is that the authorities are lying, and while they may say and even believe that they're doing it for the greater good, in the end, they're the ones living at the top. I can hear the bombers flying over, but the air is so thick I can't see them.